up, guys?
Howdy, brothers.
Welcome back to another very special episode of Whiskey and Water. This is a fun one. I'm like excited to talk about this because it's like our lives, and we sit down and podcast literally every freaking week, and now we get to talk about it for an hour.
That's what we're talking about, is podcasting.
But before we get into it, we would like to thank our show sponsors. You guys already know, Celsius Gang. Today I'm drinking sparkling Fuji apple pear.
Today I am drinking the peach vibe.
You were always on your peach vibe.
I love my peach vibe.
She really does. That's like your go-to ride or die flavor.
Yeah, it never lets me down.
I really feel like sparkling Fuji apple pear is my jam.
You like it because it's not as sweet.
Yeah.
And
you're
that's
so
why I
right.
like peach vibe, because it's literally so sweet and it tastes so good.
You know me so well. Anyways, yeah, guys, Celsius. I mean, you know that we drink this all day, every day.
Yeah, like I was thinking, we were talking before the episode, and I was like, you know what? I really want to tell the people how I drink Celsius, like why I drink Celsius. And I'm like, I literally just do it every day.
I just do it every day.
I mean, my day, I feel like it's a mood enhancer. Like I feel like the minute like I crack the can open, I'm like, like my day can fucking start. We're ready to fucking go.
We're ready to go. And it's nice because you don't have to like finish the whole can. You can just nurse it. You just nurse it all day. And to be honest, I never finish a full can.
I will if it's like a really long day.
Yeah.
But normally I don't like to have caffeine like later in the day. Like usually after like 4 or 5, I really try to cut myself off. But before that, I typically have like half a can.
I'll go through half a can and then I'll put the rest in the fridge and finish it the next day.
Juan does the same thing. Or he'll do half in the morning before his workout, and then he'll do the other half when he starts to sit down for school. And I just think that that's so smart.
Amazing.
I love it.
And you don't have the crash like you do from coffee.
Yeah.
It's just great.
And you don't get like that, like when I'm drinking coffee, I feel
anxiety.
Well, yeah, anxiety, and also like I need to drink all this right now. Like, that's, like, you know, like I get like that.
You want to chug it?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, you guys already know. Link in our description. It's healthy energy. It accelerates your metabolism and it burns body fat.
That's why I'm freaking snatched.
We love it. Okay, next up, our sponsor is Women's Realm.
We love Women's Realm. We're actually going to be talking about the Sister Realm today. It's not called Sister Realm, but it's called.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, Sister Realm. It's called Nutrition Realm. I actually got a bunch of CBD for Nugget off of Nutrition Realm.
Nice.
And he loves CBD. He's a little crackhead, we all know. So getting to chill him out at any time is a plus for me.
Yeah, and Ellie suffers from separation anxiety because I'm up her butt 24/7. So when I leave, she freaks out.
Oh my God.
But
wait, have we talked about
what?
When Ellie was a little tornado in my home one time? So yeah, honestly, just having the CBD for pets on deck it
really helps.
It helps so much, especially if your dogs are crackheads like ours.
And Nutrition Realm sent me some CBD for Ellie, and I gave her some before I came today because I knew I was going to be gone for a long time. So it's great. She loves it. I really feel like it makes a difference. It just chills her out. She's not freaking out in her cage. It's great. We love it.
And that's why we love Nutrition Realm, because they are vetting all of these products. And especially if you're going to give something to your pet who can't really communicate with you about whether or not they like something, it's nice to have these products vetted by professionals. Yeah. You can read reviews, and you can also get good discounts. So check out Nutrition Realm and Women's Realm. Link in our bio.
Link in our description. Well, link in our bio.
Influencer problems. Influencer issues.
Swipe up.
Swipe up to shop.
All right.
That's actually so funny.
It's habit at this point. It's just second nature.
Okay, guys. Right. So we are going to get into our weekly challenge.
Weekly challenge. Yeah, I think every segment our go-to is just doubling the first what's it called?
Alliteration.
Doubling the first, what's it called?
First letter?
No, it's the first sound in a word.
Alliteration.
No. It's the God.
Nope.
Okay.
I'm not going to be of any use.
We're moving on.
We're moving on. Okay, guys. I'm sorry.
Weekly challenge.
So I'm gonna let you take the reins on this one.
Okay, the weekly challenge this week was inspired by myself.
Incredible. We love that for you.
So I don't know. The other night I was on my phone and I was feeling like this weird anxiety to attachment to my phone, as I usually do. You guys know we like to do no social Sundays, but
I'm slacking on that.
Yeah, but I really felt like I'm getting into this bad habit of scrolling on my phone, as we all do, especially on TikTok, for like 2 hours at a time right before bed. It's really not a good habit. And before I started to leave my phone outside of the bedroom, which was great. Really loved implementing that. But I had this urge to just turn my phone off, and I just decided in that moment 9 p.m. is the cutoff for me. I used to say 10, but I feel like 9 is better because it kind of, it gives you an extra hour to just really settle down. You can read,
be present, be present without like sleeping, you know?
Yes.
Because it's different. You can turn off your phone while you sleep, but like having that additional just hour of time to like truly unwind, get the fucking blue light off your face, like it's good.
And I realized the reason that I had been scared to even do this or like shot down the idea in the past was because I was like, you know, what if something happens? What if there's an emergency? I need my phone. And then it dawned on me to just let everyone know, hey guys, I'm turning my phone off at 9 p.m. If you need me, if it's an emergency, text Tyler. He'll have his phone on. So then I did that. I texted you, my mom, my sister, my friends, and I said, hey, I'm going to start turning my phone off at 9 p.m. every night and just see if you need me, contact Tyler. And that way it's like having the phone on, there's still that temptation. So it's like having it off is completely like, okay, it's off, it's done. I don't even have to think about it. And I'm excited. I'm excited to start implementing this. So this is our weekly challenge for you guys. Jess is going to join me in this.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't feel like I committed to that beforehand, but I guess now I have.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, I actually do. I do want to do it. My personal issue with it is that like, it's not the scrolling on TikTok for 2 hours for me. It's like the work. It's the work.
Yeah.
I'm like.
But even then I realized too, because I shouldn't
be working.
You should.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
But my solution to that is that I'm going to have a pen and paper on my nightstand next to me so that, because I really do be getting inspired like super late at night and I'm like, shit, I want to tell Kennedy to do this, or, you know, tell Liv that I have this idea or reach out to this brand. And so I'm just going to keep a pen and paper by me. And if I do feel inspired, just jot it down and then send those notes to you guys in the morning.
Yeah, that's another, I love that you said that because that's another great point. It's like a lot of times we end up working at 10:30 at night and it's like, if you let that happen, it's going to happen. So turning your phone off is really kind of setting a boundary, I think.
It is.
And it's so funny. My sister's like, you set those boundaries, sis. And I was like, thank you, sis. And it's great because then it's like, it's nothing personal. I'm not ignoring you. I'm shutting my phone off to take care of myself.
And it's so funny because we added hours into our signatures when we email, like, you know, whoever, and we stay working.
We don't
we're like, wow,
them.
We're setting this boundary. We stay sending emails out 9-10 p.m. So
yeah.
I'm excited for this.
I'm excited. I hope you guys join me in this. I think it's a really great thing to implement. And also my intention for it too was to try to get a better nighttime routine, which would follow into a good morning routine. Because we're really bad about, like, we always say we want to do like the importance of a morning routine, but we don't have ones ourselves. So we can't be hypocrites and sit here and tell you how to have a routine.
I mean, you know, some mornings are better than others. And we do try to be mindful, but it's not as consistent as we would like it to be, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it'll just trickle down into better habits in general. So yeah, I hope you guys do it with us. Let us know, DM us your experience with it, any thoughts. We'll
be sharing our experience throughout the week as well. So stay tuned on stories.
All right.
But moving on to our Biz Pro Tip. All right, our Biz Pro Tip is Timely, and this is not sponsored, but we wish it was. What's fucking new, right? So Timely is this like app / kind of task management application that we've recently had Kennedy, our assistant, start implementing, and we really like it because we were kind of just like throwing tasks at her, and you know, she has her own schedule. We let her work whenever she wants to work, but you know, we had no way of really like tracking her hours or tracking what tasks were taking up the most time. And this has kind of just allowed us to get a visual of, you know, what her days and hours are looking like.
Yeah, it's great. And this is a pro tip mostly for business owners who have help or have employees. It's really,
or if you're a freelancer.
Yeah, if you're a freelancer yourself and you're trying to bill hours and you're still doing the math on your calculator, Timely, and again, sounds like an ad, but it's not. Timely sponsor us. But it adds up the hours for you. So she can put in her rate per hour, like what we pay her per hour, and then it just automatically calculates it, like the bill for the week.
Yeah, so like let's say that we like had her doing, you know, an hour of you know, brand outreach or whatever it may be, like it'll calculate, like if she goes over that hour, it'll calculate how much money we spent on that task, essentially, which is really interesting.
And it's just nice to see all the tasks and the costs associated with it in one organized place. So it's been great. We've been using it for a few weeks now, and we're excited to keep using it and keep having her use it to track her tasks.
Because it also, like, you know, if we're like, oh shit, she's spending way too much time and or money on XYZ task, we can be like, let's cut that, which is nice.
Right. And I think the thing about scaling a business is like we were talking about having systems in place, and that's going to be really important, especially with Mood, our agency, and like bringing on new clients. We're
trying to get that infrastructure down now so that we're not like scrambling later.
Yeah, because you got to stay organized. That's the only way to do it. So I'm excited. So yeah, Biz Pro Tip, timely. Check it out.
We'll keep you guys updated on that as well.
And before we even get into the episode, I kind of want to like give ourselves a little pat on the back for Mood the agency.
Hell yeah, brother.
On Friday, Jess texted me saying like, dude, we just sent out 7 contracts. Our first like ones, like the thing is, it kind of took a little bit of time because we like wanted to get the legalities of the contract down right. To be honest, we're still working on it.
We don't even know what's going on with that, but once we have more information
we're
on that,
learning.
We'll share it with you guys.
We're learning.
We created like an onboarding document, and just, you know, a lot of different little like kind of resources to keep ourselves organized, make sure all of our ducks are in a row. And we signed 7 different contracts Friday.
Yeah, and make sure that our clients truly do have a seamless experience when they're working with us. So just had this great idea to create an onboarding doc, which is pretty much just a questionnaire asking their preferences for the type of content creation. We have a question like, how do you prefer payment? It's like those little details that
we can ask now in that onboarding doc and have their answers recorded, rather than having to go back and forth in a bunch of emails. Like, we want to make sure that we're on the same page as them. We like ask them what their ideal model looks like, what their ideal client looks like, so that we know that we are creating content that is on brand for them and that they really feel confident in.
Yeah, but it's just great. It feels so great to have like these systems starting to build themselves out, and it's just really exciting. And I told her, like, before she said, dude, we sent out 7 contracts today, like I knew we were doing it, but it didn't really like,
you have to like take the time to like be like, I like had to add that. I'm like looking at our Trello and like adding all these up. I'm like, dude, we sent out 7 contracts.
Like, that is huge. I have goosebumps. It's huge. And it's just so exciting. Guys. Yeah.
Guys, if you don't already follow Mood the agency, please give it a follow. Yes. I did 2 photo shoots this past weekend that were honestly probably 2 of my favorite. I've started like implementing a new editing style, so I'm going to be releasing those over the upcoming weeks. So
yeah, follow our content creation agency, Mood the Agency. If you're new here, go give that a follow. Oh, and if you don't follow us on Instagram, Whiskey and Water Podcast, we post a bunch of great quotes and resources and snippets from our show there. So make sure to give us a follow on there.
Hell yeah, brother.
Okay, let's get into this week's episode. We're talking all about podcasting.
This is kind of trippy. Like, talking about podcasting while podcasting. Like, I'm kind of like in a mindfuck
podcastception.
Podception. Okay, so sorry for that pun, guys.
All right, so to start off this episode, since we are more business focused now, for those of you who are new here, we used to be more personal development. Now we're definitely more female entrepreneurship, females in business oriented. And so that's why we want to kick this off, really talking about the benefits of having a podcast as a business owner. And I feel like this can be easily overlooked because
we overlooked it for a long time. You know, we didn't kind of realize until we started, you know, Mood, and actually decided to start the line, that we realized how much of an asset that this could be for us. Yeah,
and I think for a lot of people, they either listen to podcasts or they don't. You know, like you're either someone who listens to podcasts or you just don't. You've never listened to a podcast in your life.
Yeah, and you don't see the value.
Correct. So I feel like a few notes that we had written down are definitely like connecting with your community on a deeper level. That's been huge for us.
Yeah.
I even feel like it trickles down into our personal Instagram account. And
definitely.
I feel like when I post on my stories and when I write my captions, I feel like I can be more myself because more of my audience listens to the podcast. Therefore, they know us better as individual people.
Yeah. I mean, even when I'm posting like stories, like if I'm posting, you know, so I get ridiculous on my stories. Like I'm posting like, you know, stupid talking videos, whatever it may be. And like the brothers are always responding.
Yeah.
And I love that.
And it's just, it's long form content, and you really don't get to go this in depth or connect on that deep of a level through Instagram or through TikTok or even through a blog and writing. Like a podcast is really such
intimate.
It's intimate, and it really gives you an hour long conversation with your audience.
Yeah.
You know, like where else can you really do that? You can do it on YouTube, but even that is usually shorter.
And not to mention, like, this is such a like raw version of ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, you know, none of this is scripted. We don't like, we literally air all of our shit out. Like, so you guys just know us so well and so intimately at this point, so it also just helps us, you know, build that trust with you guys. Like we can trust you guys, and you guys can trust us to show up authentically and, you know, just be real with you guys every single week. You know, we'll never tell you guys something that we don't like truly believe in or truly use. Like, we have nothing to gain from that.
Yeah. And I think as a business owner, to be able to connect with your potential buyers or clients or whatever it may be, even though this isn't totally like Whiskey and Water isn't a business, but I feel like it complements anything that we want to do in the future. It kind of just supplements it as another pillar to really just benefit anything, you know, any direction we want to go. So I really feel like connecting with your community, your potential buyers, your potential clients in that way, that you feel a more of a personal connection, and it's not just like a random shop or a random business coach, you know?
Yeah, like you know the faces behind the brand.
Yeah, you know them on a deeper level.
Yeah. I also think that it's really given us a really great like reminder for consistency.
Yeah.
Because we have not missed a fucking Monday.
We have
in over a year and a half.
Okay, so we take a 1 week break between seasons, and
which is like 4 times a year.
There's 12 episodes in a season, and then the two episodes that we've ever missed. It was when shit hit the fan with COVID in last March, and Black Lives Matter,
which we didn't miss them. We chose to be aware and conscious and not be fucking ignorant.
We read the room and decided to not release episodes on those weeks
until we felt confident.
Other than that, well, guys, we have not missed 1 week.
We have not missed an episode.
And if that meant, you know, me driving 2 hours north to meet with our editor and give them the hard drive for the footage, or if that meant her coming up to me on a Sunday afternoon and busting out an episode,
that's what that shit is.
That's what we did. I also feel like it's just a great reminder for your audience, like, hey, I'm showing up every week, and you can count on me to show up every week. And we'll get more into consistency and what it's meant to us and how important it is when you do eventually start your podcast of your own. But I think just that consistent reminder for your community that, like, hey, I'm here.
Making it happen no matter what.
I'm doing this, I'm selling this, or
you
I'm
can
working
rely on us.
Exactly. So I think that's great. Also, credentials. Like, I know when we started the podcast, we were like, dude, we're not just influencers anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're so right. Because that was like something that we're like, holy shit, we're like not just influencers. And that was such a good feeling because, you know, as shitty as it is, there is such a stigma with, you know, influencers and whatever it may be. And just kind of having that added bonus and that added level of value was awesome.
Yeah, like we were like, oh, we can be like co-hosts now, you know?
Yeah, like
we're taking on a different role.
I even have that. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I even have that on my LinkedIn. I have all the things that I do. Actually, I think I need to probably update it now because we've done so much shit between now and then. But I have co-host of Whiskey and Water, and I never go on LinkedIn, honestly, but I went on the other day because I got a notification, and I had a bunch of messages from people like being like, hey, would love to, you know, connect about your show or come on your show or X, Y, and Z. And so it definitely just adds up another level to your professionalism.
Yeah, and I know like when we're looking for a guest and we see that they have a podcast, that's an automatic yes, for like, because we know they know how to present themselves, they know how to speak, they know how to engage with an audience. So definitely,
and they have things to say. Yeah, like they have expertise. They have, you know, they have value to bring to the table.
Correct. Yeah. So I think that's a great thing if you're considering a podcast, like for your business. Definitely, if someone sees that you're a business owner and you have a podcast, that's just another like level up, another value offering to bring to the table.
And it also gives you a reason to connect with that person because like otherwise we may not have reached out to any of these people because we had no reason to.
We have made such great connections by just having these amazing people on our podcast, and it's people that I would want to connect with. For example, we had on our guest Mila a few weeks ago, and I found her on TikTok, and I was like, this girl is so cool. Like, I want to
talk about her like every
I know, right?
I know. We love you, Mila.
That's a great episode if you haven't listened already. But I was like, that just it sticks out in my mind because I genuinely was like, I want to connect with this girl.
Yeah.
And having the podcast as a tool, as a reason to reach out to someone that you want to connect with is amazing.
Yeah. And now it's like we've made like literally lifelong friends, lifelong connections. Like, it's an amazing networking tool. We know that these people are going to be in our corner, you know, hopefully, you know, for the foreseeable future. And, you know, the same goes for us to them, you know, like we share a lot of our past guests like successes on our podcast, and, you know, we're always cheering them on, and they always have us to use as a resource as well.
Yeah, it's just so great because if you didn't have the podcast, really, how else would you reach out?
Yeah, even our friend Lizzie, like, who just launched, we actually had her on the podcast. We actually talked about OnlyFans. And she just launched a clothing line, and, you know, she wanted to like work with us with Mood. She wanted, like, she's supporting us. She's sending us some stuff. So it's like,
it's great.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So definitely that's a great reason to want to start something too, is just be able to network with people and have a reason to speak with them for an hour, ask them questions, pick their brains. A lot of guests were like, oh, I just want to pick their brains. Like, genuinely.
We just ask them questions that we
want to know.
Are interested about.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. And then, you know, aside from all of that stuff, you know, you want to decide, like, if you are interested here and you are like, okay, well, I want to start a podcast, what the fuck do I do? Because, you know, we've kind of like talked about a lot of good reasons to make one.
Those are the benefits, but let's talk about how to actually go about starting your podcast now.
Yeah, or if you should.
If you should, correct.
Because, you know, not, you know, it's glamorous, it's fun, and we love it, but it's a lot of fucking work.
It's a lot of work, and you guys know us. We're going to be as transparent and open with you guys as we possibly can about everything. And yeah, if you're not fully committed into starting something, then don't do it. Like, we're not gonna, you know, beat around the
sugarcoat it.
We're not gonna sugarcoat it. We're not gonna beat around the bush. Like, as great it is to be like, yeah, we showed up, we haven't missed one Monday. That takes real dedication, real tears.
It's so funny because we're like, yeah, we've showed up every week. I have showed up crying. I have showed up
hungover,
mental breakdown. So, I mean, we've literally we've filmed right here. And I once hid in my closet and like
cried and ate
cookies because I was like, I cannot do it. Like,
I mean, yeah, there was a point last year where I was like losing hair. Definitely like the podcast was part of that reason. Like,
yeah. So, you know, with that all being said, why do you want to start one?
Yeah. So really think about your why and your intention. And we had thought about starting ours for like 6 months before we actually pulled the trigger. And I think you need that time to really consider it. I mean, hey, if you're someone who just pulls the trigger, is ready to go, awesome, great for you. However, if you plan on showing up once a week, this is a decision you're going to want to really think about and sleep on.
Or, you know, you can also decide to not go balls to the wall. You can do an episode every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You can do one episode a fucking month. You know, you make the rules here. You know, I will say that your best bet, if it's something that you want to do seriously,
or that you want to
monetize, grow, whatever it may be, I would say that weekly would be your best bet. You know, some podcasts even release 2 a week. That's for people who this, you know, podcasting is like their bread and butter.
Yeah, some people even do daily. Like there's what's it called, Tesla Daily, and he does every day. It's 5 minutes. You know, it's short,
a quick one.
It's doable, but like she said, you can make the rules here. But I would say if you want to be consistent and really plan on growing your show, weekly is a good measurement, a good rule of thumb to stick to.
And you want to be able to, so, you know, when you're deciding whether or not you want to start a podcast or if you should start a podcast, I would say that the main question that you should ask yourself in regards to like what you're going to talk about is you want to decide on a topic that you can talk about every single week for a year to 5 years, you know, if you're going to stick with that same topic, because there will be times where you're not, like, you could be like, oh, well, I love cooking, I can talk about cooking all the time. Baby, there's only so many recipes. I promise. Like, you will run out of inspiration. You will run out of topics to talk about. So you want to make sure it's something that you feel well versed on.
Definitely. And I think especially before you start, you have all these ideas. I mean, that's how we were.
So many ideas.
We were like, we are set on topics. We are set on ideas.
We're like, our lives are crazy.
We have so much to talk about. And then, so 4 or 5 months in, we look at each other and we're like, what are we talking about this week?
Well, it's also because you have a lot of ideas pre-production and you're like, wow, I could talk about all of these things for an hour. But when it comes down to it, you kind of realize that you don't necessarily like it doesn't play out like it does in your head. You're like, wait, I don't want to talk about this for an hour, or I can't talk about this for an hour.
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. And going back to your why, I think a lot of people start podcasts because they have value to offer. And I know that has been the driving point for us and our show back when it was personal development and comedy based. And even now with it being female entrepreneurship and women in business, it's
our main value is value.
Yeah, like that is, and I think that's a great way to lead because, if you're not providing value, people don't really just want to listen to your life.
Unless you're like fucking a Kardashian or whoever the fuck.
Unless you're already somebody, you're going to bring people in by providing that value. People are going to see the snippets on social media and be like, wow, I've never thought about that before. And then they're going to look into the show and see what else they can learn.
Yeah.
So I think really think about what you know and what you feel knowledgeable on that you can provide value. And it doesn't have to be like, financial tips. It can be within your niche and you'll be providing value to that niche.
You can be a small business. One of our most listened to episodes we had on our girlfriend Nat McPherson, who owns Whatever Lola, and that's one of our most listened to episodes, and all we talked about was like being a small business owner, and so many people found incredible value in that. So it's like, even if you have your own small business and you're just talking about your journey or things that you deal with on a daily basis, it doesn't have to be like super niche, but I would say that you do want to just make sure that you are bringing value or entertainment or inspiration to the table each episode.
Yeah. And also you want to ask yourself the question of like, how am I going to get people to show up week after week? And that's going to be by they know that when they listen, they're going to get something out of it, whether it's entertainment, whether it's a laugh, whether it's knowledge, whatever it is. They don't want to listen to something that isn't really giving them anything.
It's boring.
Yeah.
Don't be boring.
Well, I don't know. Math could be boring, but if someone's into math and they get value from that,
then math ain't so boring.
By all means. So yeah, I would just really lead with that and think about, even with your topics, like how can I provide the most value possible to my audience, whatever that may be.
Yeah. And I think that where people really see a lot of value from an audience standpoint is in transparency. It's in vulnerability. Like, people love hearing shit that like other people won't tell them. Yes, so it's like when we had that influencer episode, people loved that fucking episode because we put it all out on the table. I mean, almost any especially if you've been a brother for a minute, you guys know that we have told you guys the inner workings of our entire life, from sex to drugs to literally anything,
to relationships
to anything,
everything.
So yeah, I'm like sex and drugs. You're like
relationships advice.
So and people, you guys have loved that, and we have loved being that vulnerable with you guys because it's it's also made our audience more committed to us as people because we are so vulnerable with you guys.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times people resonate towards things that are more transparent and more vulnerable and more open because on social media you don't see a lot of that. It's all cultivated and curated. That's what filtered. I meant. Not cultivated. Curated and filtered and thrown through 4 different apps before it gets posted. And I feel like people are a little more scared. I know myself, I'm more willing to be vulnerable and open on the podcast than on my Instagram stories any day, all day. Mm-hmm. And that's just because we have a different relationship with this audience. But I think people gravitate more towards that vulnerability because we don't get enough of it in other areas of social media.
Yeah.
So I feel like the podcast is the correct space for that level of intimacy.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And also, not to mention, some of our best performing episodes, like I think the second best performing is the episode where I talk about me and Tyler's relationship and how we went through cheating and our 2 breakups. And I'm just telling y'all everything about our relationship and everything that's happened in the past 8 years, that is one of the best performing episodes. So that just speaks volumes about what people connect with. And also, not to mention, we get so many messages when we do open up about stuff like that. So many messages about like, wow, thank you, you validated so much for me, or this really resonated, I really related to this in this way. And I think that's just really amazing and something that you should definitely consider with your own podcast.
Definitely. So now we're going to move into the more tactical side of podcasting, which we actually got a lot of questions about, like, you know, where do we host it on, you know, how do we edit it, what equipment do we use, and all that good stuff. So I think I want to preface this with, you want to make it sustainable. The podcast needs to be sustainable if it's something that you are going to look to do, because as we've kind of emphasized, it is a commitment, but at the same time, it's depending on how you do it. Because, you know, some people just whip out their phone and record on their phone, and, you know, that's cool for them, you know, but if it's something that, you know, we're going to speak from our standpoint and how we wanted this to be something that grew and we can monetize eventually. And yeah, sustainability is definitely the number one factor. And we kind of realized, we started off, we went balls to the wall, and it wasn't sustainable. And there was a lot of times where we felt extremely burnt out. Our pockets were burnt out. our hearts were burnt out. So we've had to scale down a million times.
Yeah, we've made changes like consistently every week, every month, to get to the point where we have it now, where it's kind of a seamless system. It's taken definitely like a year, I would say.
Yeah, at least.
Well, granted, you know, we dealt with COVID. We had to learn how to record virtually. Yeah. So that was a curveball, but it was great because it taught us how to be self-sufficient.
Because up until that point, we had been editing with our producer, who would come in person every episode and set everything up for us.
Shout out PD, Podcast Daddy.
Zach, we love you. So yeah, definitely pivoting to, you know, virtual episodes was huge for us, because it also allowed us to have guests from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, because prior to COVID, we weren't doing any virtual interviews.
No,
we were only doing
all in person.
We were only doing in-person interviews, which really limited the guests that we can have on. So since, you know, learning how to do those virtual recordings, I
wasn't going to say anything.
we then implemented what we learned into our new way once we started going in person again, and being able to have virtual guests. So like, it's just a constant evolution, and that's what you need to expect once you start your show. It's not going to stay the same way from when you recorded your first episode to when you record your 50th. Expect the change, welcome it, look for new ways that you can make it more efficient.
Sufficient, I think, works too.
Same shit. More efficient, more sustainable. Like, that is definitely something that we learned the hard way, and I'm glad we did, you know.
Yeah, but be open to change.
Yeah.
Like, we've changed snippets. We've changed, like,
social media.
We've changed the entire show. We literally took an entire rebrand.
Hey.
And you know what? Like, you make the rules.
Yeah.
Like, don't tie yourself down to, like, a certain, like, niche or expectation, because, like, you know, you can change. You can shit.
Yeah, you can change. And definitely, like, when it comes to equipment, just as an example, we started with 3 cameras recording in 4K.
Guys, I have we were on crack.
Insane soundboards. Like, our podcast, if you looked at our first few episodes, it was a movie.
It was a production.
It was a movie. You look like you're which was amazing. But at the time, especially, we had to have this like slap in the face moment of like, we have 10 views on YouTube. What are we producing this movie for?
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
no, it was, we had 3 cameras, and for the entire YouTube, we had effects. Like, we would zoom in on like Olivia's face. We would insert fucking effects. It was insane.
We did the most, and it was great. Don't get me wrong. It was an amazingly produced show. We got compliments on it all the time, but we just had to take a look at it because it was literally the death of, we were like, we cannot keep producing this show at this level.
We were spending
with our sanity.
We were spending so much money, guys.
We are investing money. We were spending mental energy. Our producer, Zach, he had to, like, his entire laptop broke down. He had to buy a desktop so he could handle the footage. It was just a lot.
It was crazy.
So if we could give you guys any advice from what we've learned, is just start it from the standpoint of like, how can I make this sustainable? How can I make it easy for me to do once a week? You know, it doesn't have to be this big ass production thing. We have this habit where we just can't help ourselves, and we just go balls to the wall with everything we do.
0-10. Do not recommend.
It's a blessing and a curse. But as far as equipment goes, I would definitely do your research. This is something that's really easy to find out online. There's a ton of great resources.
These are also like what, our second mics or something?
No, we've stuck to the same mics, we took
them off. Like we originally had them on these like really like long like cord things.
They were like long stands, and then we went to like really heavy stands, and now we're handheld.
We just hold them, and it's way better.
It's great.
And then as far as like, I know some people had some questions as far as like our exact equipment. We use Audio Technica
P48. And these honestly,
P48.
Yeah, I found them off an article. Buzzsprout is a great resource too. They have really great articles. Yeah.
And then we use we have a soundboard from Behringer. It's Behringer, and we use like the micro amp, which is an ultra compact 4-channel stereo headphone amplifier. And then we use the Behringer Euphoria UMC 404 HD. What do those things mean?
We have no idea.
No fucking clue.
And also, this is if we were to buy new equipment now, it would probably be different. This is like really, really professional and extreme. And honestly,
if we wanted to open up a music studio, I think we would be fine.
We'd be ready
because we have all of the equipment that I think Drake probably uses as well. So
yeah, I don't think you guys need to go this hard, and that's why I do recommend you doing good research. You can definitely find more affordable options. The mics that we bought for when we
bought different mics when we were virtually recording,
and honestly, those work really great. And you just plug my headphones in, and they work
straight to the laptop. We use GarageBand.
Yes.
And it's a little bit of a learning curve. You know, I set everything up ourselves now, and there's still like some technical, like even earlier I was like, I can't hear anything in the headphones, and it just turns out we had a stupid button.
It was just a button.
So yeah, there's definitely a learning curve. We record on GarageBand, and then we send it off to an editor, Daniel. Yes. Shout out to Daniel. He's the bomb.
So something to consider too when you're thinking about starting a podcast, or if you want to start a podcast, is the editing process.
Yeah.
Actually, before we even get into the editing, let's rewind, because I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the preparation that goes into each episode, because I do get questions about that. How much do we prepare? Do we script? I know some podcasters write out an entire script before they start recording.
Power to them.
And just the way we've changed with the equipment, we've changed a lot in our preparation process.
Yeah. We used to, taking it back to the beginning, to the OG, we used to write out an entire outline of like pretty much everything that we wanted to say. This is the exact flow. We would send a flow chart to every single guest of this is how the episode is being run, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, it was very professional.
Oh, we were doing the damn thing. However, with the, making it sustainable, we realized that, we were taking hours to write these episodes, and
it was stressing us out.
It was stressing us out. We weren't super inspired by it. Like, it's so much easier to like sit down and have a conversation and kind of go with the flow and be inspired as you go than be reading off of a script.
Yeah, and it wasn't so much a script. It was just like we knew where the conversation was going to go, and if it went away from that, it's okay, but we want to make sure we get back to it. And it kind of started to feel like a dread having to write the episode, because we would spend about an hour before preparing for it, and I think it was great for the time being. I think it really helped us learn how to interview and learn how to do an episode. So I don't really regret it, but
because we had to go through that process to understand how we like the episodes to be run, and because we did it so much, we kind of almost do it naturally, but it feels like it just flows way better.
Yeah, and also when you sit down to do your first episode, it's gonna be weird. Like this,
you are going to feel very uncomfortable.
I think we feel very comfortable and natural now, but when we first sat down to record our like test episode, guys, our pilot,
please don't listen to our first episodes.
We were like,
I think they're so cringy.
Like our heart was beating the whole time.
I was sweating.
Like
we smelled like shit.
We had that nervous sweat going on. It is not natural, and it's going to take some getting used to.
Yeah, I mean, it helps when your co-host is your best friend, because, and a lot of people say, and someone actually told me this past weekend, they were like, dude, I listened to your podcast and it really just sounds like I'm on FaceTime with two friends. And
you are
like, that's great. Like wow, That's wild to me because
you are.
I mean, when we first started, it was so bad.
And like honestly, I don't think
we were so stiff.
It didn't sound as bad as we felt it was, but it just felt very awkward.
Yeah.
So just, your writing process is going to be however you want to do it.
However you're comfortable with.
However you're comfortable. But that was our process, and the decision to make it more free-flowing and just sit down and, we kind of have a basis, but we definitely don't have an outline structure.
We don't go in, fucking but blind. We have an idea.
But I think making that change was definitely a part of the whole making it sustainable for us because, just how it needs to be affordable, it needs to be time efficient. It also needs to be like mentally sustainable, and doing what we were doing before was not sustainable at all. It was burning us out, and it was making us dread recording, and you don't want to get to that place.
I mean, it was such a bad place because it was like we didn't want to let our audience down, we didn't want to let ourselves down, but like something needed to change, and
it did, and it's been great.
It's been great.
Now we show up and just chug a Celsius and wing it, and it's amazing,
ready to go.
Okay, so that is our preparation process. Once we sit down to record, it takes about we time frame 2 hours.
Yeah,
it's usually under that.
It's usually an hour to an hour and a half. I would say an hour and a half is usually our sweet spot because by the time we sit down, sometimes we're like talking shit for a little bit.
Oh yeah, we sit down.
Sometimes we take a break in between the episodes, guys.
Oh yeah,
we edit this. Yeah, I hope you guys know. Like there are times where we like stop the pod. We come back to it. Hopefully you guys don't notice. But yeah, it's hard to talk for an hour straight.
It is definitely exhausting.
Especially if it's like with a guest. Like sometimes we'll take 5 with a guest and be like, yo, go get some water.
Go get water, relax, stretch, whatever you got to do.
Yeah, we fucking go out on the balcony for a minute, come back. Yeah. So, like be open to like knowing that as well. It's not going to be like an hour like live show.
Yeah, and most of the time I would suggest editing to get out any awkward pauses or mess ups or anything like that. You can edit on iMovie. You can edit on, there's a lot of apps and softwares that are really easy to use. We have known from the jump.
Even, if you want to do it on an app.
We have known from the jump that editing was not something we wanted to tackle personally because it's a very time consuming thing. I mean, think if you have an hour-long episode, you have to
first listen through the entire episode, make the time cuts like where you want to make them. I mean, if you're doing video, that's a whole other thing.
Whole other ball game.
Because some podcasts just do audio, and more power to you. It's way easier that way because you're not sending an entire video file to someone, or you're not editing it yourself and making sure that the audio and the video aligns, which is a huge thing as well. So
we have switched to a few different editors, but now we have Daniel, who we honestly found through Fiverr. Fiverr is a great resource.
Not sponsored, but we wish it was.
We wish it was. A great resource for you to find an editor for your podcast.
Just anything.
Yeah, anything.
While we're at it, use fucking Fiverr for, we found a lawyer on there the other day.
Yes, we did.
So Fiverr is definitely, a great resource for, editing, outsourcing things.
And it's pretty affordable. So, for us to spend however much we spend under $100 per episode. That is definitely worth our time.
Yeah.
I'm glad to pay someone else that to sit there for a few hours and just know that it's getting done and outsourcing that to them.
We can definitely like rely on Daniel. Like we know what we're getting each episode. Like he understands the vibe of the show at this point. So like just having that confidence and, having someone else do it is huge for us.
Yeah. So after the editing process, of course, you need it to go live somewhere. So our host is Buzzsprout. That is what we've used from the very beginning. However, that could change, and there are definitely other podcast hosting websites out there. We're looking into something called Anchor right now, which was recommended by our guest that we're going to have on next week, Natalie. And that's what she uses, and it basically connects your episodes with brands to hopefully find a mutual sponsorship that would be beneficial. So that is something.
So if you guys hear new sponsors, that's why.
That is something we're definitely looking into. And we're a year and a half into this, and
we had never heard of it.
We had never heard
of anything called Anchor or this other app that we're looking into called Podcorn. So like there's a lot that we still don't know. So this is like podcasting 101.
Yes.
We are not experts by any means. There's even if someone that had a podcast listened to this, they'd probably be like, why didn't they mention Anchor? And it's like, well, we had no fucking idea.
We literally just learned about it. So that's what we might be switching over to. But Buzzsprout has been great. It's really user friendly.
They put out articles like every week on like how to monetize, how to do X, Y, and Z with your podcast, how to get it live, how to do this. So it is a really, really great resource.
It's a great resource. They send out newsletters, like she said, once a week, and they're always really valuable and educational. So I would be happy to recommend that.
And it's super easy to use.
Yeah, it's very easy.
You can, put your podcast there. You can set a date to have it live. It does everything for us, Apple, Spotify, and I think other little ones too.
I think you could distribute it to more, but for now we just have those two.
And then we do it ourselves on YouTube and just upload that file.
It also shows you all your statistics. So, it gathers, other than YouTube is separate, but it gathers all your listens. Your listens. Okay. Your listens from Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and it does all the math for you. It shows you
your downloads, everything.
How long someone's listened to an episode, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So that's what you need to know about hosting.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, and we got some questions also about having guests on, and guests have been so valuable for our show because as much as you think you could sit here and talk to each other forever, you definitely need some sort of other information, knowledge, expertise.
Yeah.
I mean, we really utilize guests for their expertise.
Yeah, 100%. And not to mention a lot of you guys asked about how to kind of grow a podcast, because it is really hard if you don't already have a platform. And having a guest on that shares on their platforms, especially if they have a podcast, maybe doing an exchange, you go on their podcast, they come on yours, that type of vibe, definitely helps grow the pod as well.
Yeah, and for outreach, when we are talking to our guests, we pretty much just send them a template that we cater to them and what we would want to talk to them personally about. But that's how we pitch ourselves to them. We send them an email.
We tell their team an email.
Yeah, we tell them a little bit about our show and how we feel like they could bring value to our audience and how it could also be valuable for their audience as well to get to know them on a deeper level. And yeah, that's pretty much our pitching method. And then we record through Zoom. And
there's another one called riverside.fm that a lot of people have recommended.
And we used to use, what did we use?
Zencaster. That was a bitch.
That was honestly really tough to navigate, but right now we're going through Zoom. It works great.
Yeah,
if they have a mic of their own, they can use that, record their own audio, send it to us. But that's pretty much we record their audio separately on Zoom. There's a feature on Zoom where you can record the audio track separately.
Yeah.
So our editor just takes their audio, takes our audio, takes their Zoom video, takes our video from the camera and mashes it all up into this beautiful
little product that you guys see.
Yes, that you see now. All right. So now we're going to get into a few tips that we have for growing. Honestly, we're not
experts
at this. Growing is really tough because think about it. For podcasts, there's no algorithm for podcasts.
Yeah.
You really don't have an opportunity to be showing up to new audiences.
Unless you get on the new and noteworthy of Apple, which is, I think, really, really hard to do, especially considering how saturated podcasts are getting at this moment.
Yeah, if you're not already a celebrity with a platform.
Yeah, I mean, then you're probably not going to get on new and noteworthy. I hope you do, but I think even YouTube helps a lot for us because it will show up if someone's Googling it. That helps for our views and our algorithm.
Or if that topic is being searched in Google, maybe our episode will come up and it'll be recommended to them.
Yeah. Or if, we have someone on that has a little bit more of notoriety and they're Googled, our episode will come up.
Yeah, because it's an interview with them and it shows up.
But our episode with Cindy Prado does really well on YouTube. I think it's because people are Googling her. Bianca Gez, the same thing.
Yeah, so our tips for growing are definitely to be consistent. Your audience, you definitely want to gain that trust with your audience, and you want them to know that, hey, when they tune in Monday morning on their commute to work, that you're going to have an episode up, and that's what they're going to look forward to listening to.
Even though sometimes we miss our Monday mornings, we release a little bit later.
Our Monday commuters, we love you, and we're so sorry.
Our Monday commuters are our most loyal.
You guys are the best. We love you.
But other than that, having the guests promote, so we send a one-sheeter to every guest that kind of outlines our expectations from them and what they can expect from us as well. And it's just having them share it with a swipe up, having them, maybe talk about it on their stories, hopefully mention it in a post caption, things like that are really helpful.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to ask because guests are great for their knowledge and their expertise, but also if they have an audience of their own, one, their audience probably wants to listen in to that podcast. And two, that is a great resource for you to get exposure to new audiences that you wouldn't have reached before. So we definitely like to ask our guests, hey, please post on your story with a swipe up link. Your audience is going to love to listen to this conversation. And that has been so helpful.
And also, like, when asking for a guest, it's really good to keep that in mind, because if they're not someone that already goes on their stories a lot or isn't really engaged with their audience, they're probably going to be less inclined to share it. You know, we've had people that came on the pod and unfortunately did not share it whatsoever. And, you know, like, we don't demand that of them. It's more of like we hope that you do. But it's something to keep in mind when you're definitely reaching out to a guest.
Yeah, definitely. And also, don't be afraid to ask your audience for reviews, to share them. We always like to tell you guys, take a screenshot, post on your story, tag us, let us know you're listening. And I think that really does help, because you need that call to action to get people to sometimes, I mean, it works for me too. And I'm listening to a podcast, they're like, send this to a friend. I'm like, done.
Okay, yeah.
I'm like, sending to Jess right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So definitely don't be scared to ask for those reviews and shares, and tell people to send it to a friend. I think that's
With that
great.
being said, please review, please share this, send to a friend, post it on IG.
If you've loved this episode, go ahead and text message it to a friend right now. Copy that link, put it in an iMessage, hit the send button. Yeah. And that's that.
I think that just about wraps us up.
Yeah, that was jam-packed. We hope you guys found a lot of value in that. We are happy to answer any other questions. We are happy to do a part 2 if you guys want more in-depth. You know, we're always open for that.
Just let us know, guys. We love your feedback. Let us know. And yeah, I guess we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week for another episode of Whiskey and Water. Have a great week, brothers. We love you.